everyone, thanks for joining the session and choosing to spend your time with me. My session today is called AI and Equality, Friend or Foe, and I will be talking through some of the debates that are happening in this area to really, put it on your agenda and make sure that we keep thinking about things as we move forward into a new way of doing things in market research. I am Josephine Hansom. Thank you, Ray, for inviting me to speak today. I work with brands almost from any category you can think of, and I help them understand the future generation. I was the Managing Director of Youth Site Research, after that SVP at Savanta, and I'm now stepping out on my own and working directly with agencies and brands. One of the reasons I've been asked to talk today is because I chair the MRS EDI Council, as well as being an elected member of the MRS board, as well as co-hosting the MRS podcast Outsides. So I'm telling you all that because actually all this stuff means an awful lot to me. But I guess before we get into all of the AI stuff, it's important to recognise that equality, diversity and inclusion is not universally welcomed in the world or even in the UK at the moment. I've included a poll here from Ipsos that found that over a third of people in the UK said that EDI initiatives in the workplace have gone too far. So I guess I'd say that 2025 so far has been a bit of a year of division and difference, and not in a good way. So moving forward, it's really important that everyone feels that they have the same opportunities to progress and succeed. So I just want to take a quick pit stop here just to remind everybody about the MRS EDI Council. The mission is to bring together the best of the industry to focus on equality, diversity and inclusion. We have two focuses. One, which is to make market research a welcoming industry for everyone to work in. So that's about people. And then the second is to promote inclusive research practices that reflect the world we seek to understand. And that's all about kind of what we do as researchers. And this is all underpinned by the MRS Inclusion Pledge. So this is something that organisations sign up to keep EDI front and centre as you're conducting research, as you're running your business, as you're recruiting teams. And I would say, ask your employer if they've signed up to the MRS Inclusion Pledge, and if they haven't, ask why. So before we go into AI, my final point on EDI is really just to make the point that there is a clear business case for equality at work. I have to thank Watch This Space, who created these lovely, nice infographics. But we've got here the first reason that EDI is important, and this is from Gartner, that diverse companies are 36% more profitable. That is huge. A third more profitable than non-diverse companies. Brilliant. The second is from People Management, which says diverse teams are 87% better at making decisions. We're all researchers. We know that 87% better is a huge number. The third is about staff retention, and this is from the Harvard Business Review. And that's where they say that inclusion increases staff retention by a half. So we all know how expensive it is in terms of recruiting a new person to the team, how much time is lost when they leave and training up someone new. This is something that gets businesses running well. And 56% of customers make purchase decisions influenced by inclusion. And that's from our very own Kantar. So I guess given these numbers, it's really curious, to me at least, I don't understand why businesses wouldn't want to benefit from these advantages, especially as we slide, unfortunately, into a global recession. So section 1, we're riding into a crest of a wave. So let's think about where we are at the moment, and then I will introduce some of the debate. So first things first, present reality, AI is here to stay. You've got ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Copilot, my favourite, Claude. Claude is my best friend. And we see here that 62% of researchers say that most or some of their team are using AI. So it's in the work we're doing in one way, shape or form. It might not be throughout a project at every stage, but at least one stage of a project is going to be touched by AI. And that's because things are faster, things are efficient, and things cost less. So why wouldn't you? And of course, if you're looking for reasons to to use AI and inspiration of how to use AI, look no further than the new MR website. I've taken some screenshots here on the right, and it gives you inspiration about how to use ChatGPT for crosstabs, how to create custom questionnaire libraries, how to create innovative deliverables for clients. It's really giving you the kind of the roadmap of how you can be using AI in your projects. And on the right hand side here, we have another Harvard Business Review article just outlining how market research is transforming with AI. I won't go through all the details, but needless to say, it's touching every element of the project from design to delivery. So before we go into the debate, I just wanted to return to this focus of the MRS EDI Council, which is to represent the world we seek to understand. And I think this is really important and a pretty simple call to action, really. If we're going to be using AI, it has to be helping us do the job we've got to do. So let's crack on and have a bit of a debate. I've created a table, and I think it's a 3x3, and then we're going to be kind of pitting some of these sort of debate topics against each other. So here we go, a quick overview. This is by no means exhaustive, but it gives you a sense of some of the things people are talking about in relation to EDI and AI. So, all of the promises, and we'll go through them in detail, these are in essence about some sort of overcoming some sort of human limitation, whether that's efficiency, whether that's mistakes, things like that. While on the concern side, these are also man-made issues, but I would probably argue that these are things that we have more control over, for now at least, until we get a little bit too deep in with AI. Okay, first debate, efficiency. So making U++, as I had on the other slide, versus hallucinations and kind of black box decision making. So yes, I think we can agree that you'll be able to do more stuff more quickly, and that is great when you use AI. For me, I use AI when there's kind of a large amount of information to remember. So the AI has a better working memory than me. And then I use it as a sparring partner to explore and develop the data to refine the insights. But with speed comes a new way of doing things, because you can't do things the old way with the same speed. And that's one of the criticisms of AI, is that we're at the mercy of the technology to do the tasks for us in a way that we don't necessarily understand. And that can lead to hallucinations. This is an early AI photo. It would be creating images of hands with 6 fingers when you asked it for a picture of a hand for some reason, and we don't know why. I don't know why, but it's, I guess, to be expected. We are using this technology so early on as it's developing, but we're using it in a way that we've assumed that everything works perfectly first time. I guess to ensure that we are working in the right way going forward, we need to be thinking about how we give AI clearer instructions. We need to improve the way we prompt, just to use the technical language. And I often make the analogy that you wouldn't give someone that doesn't work in market research a set of transcripts and ask them to tell you what we should be telling the client. I don't know why we're assuming AI to do the same. We need to get better at prompting. We need better context. We need to explain what we're doing. And that will, it won't take the risk completely out, but it will minimize it. And it will prevent us from having things like 6 fingers enter our workflow, contaminate our projects, distort our reality, and make our work not really something we're proud of. Okay, debate number 2. So being less awkward as a participant, or a bit more honest as a participant, versus the lack of contextual understanding you might get. So let's start by talking about people a bit more here. So using technology can make participants more honest or willing to take part. I think we saw that with online surveys when we moved from kind of people in the street with their clipboards. We could ask slightly more sensitive, kind of about sensitive topics that we wouldn't have asked out on the street. Now you can use AI as like a qualitative interview or maybe just an interviewer, but they can investigate topics that are too sensitive for, say, a blunt survey, that need some nuance, that need some considered kind of probing and follow-up. So an example of this would be using an AI interviewer for health-related questions rather than a real person. I know that I would feel much more comfortable answering kind of sensitive, thoughtful questions about my period if I was being asked by AI than I would by a real person. And I'm sure men would prefer talking about erectile dysfunction with AI rather than a real person as well. So if AI can get us closer, in this instance, to real experiences, we also need to be able to understand kind of the experiences and the stories that are being shared. And this is maybe where there's an oversight by AI. So AI only knows what it's been trained on, and that's mostly written information. And if our world, your world, hasn't been as well documented as others, AI might not understand it. And this can be an issue that we need to protect against. Protected characteristics in particular are going to suffer from this. How much of the internet and literature talks about disability? What about cultures from less developed nations, or youth culture, which is in my world, which is constantly evolving? Trends will be commented upon 1 minute and then forgotten the next. But all these cues could be missing, or if worse, or worse, misinterpreted by AI. So something we all need to know in research is that it's the little things. I think we do know, but sometimes we forget. It is the little things that deliver the biggest insights. And I guess that loss of nuance and the details that is not going to help us deliver the competitive edge that clients are employing us to do. And finally, the third debate you need to be aware of is about piloting with AI versus systemic bias amplification. And this is the one you might have heard most of. So we've spoken about using AI to create better connections with participants, helping them design and deliver research, but we haven't spoken about using AI to make the inevitable mistakes in a safe environment. So what do I mean by that? Well, we all pilot our work, we test our surveys with a small group to make sure everything's working properly, but what if those mistakes come at a big cost? What if there's either a big financial cost, or if there's kind of a big cost because there are so few niche participants to speak to? Getting it wrong can really compromise the research. So this is where synthetic data comes in as another tool in our kit bag. So imagine that you need to speak to trans women, about their experiences of dentists, going to the dentists in Northern Ireland. If I'm honest, anything that starts with Northern Ireland is often a really difficult recruit, but then if you're trying to find trans women who have recently gone to the dentist, even with the best recruitment agency, it's going to be hard. But let's assume we're using the best recruitment agency. You just won't want to make any mistakes with that sample. So this is where maybe using synthetic data instead of maybe speaking to the 3, 4, 5, 6 people that you have found, you could use synthetic data to test your guide, develop digital twins. This is where you could make your mistakes safely. However, and there's always a however in this presentation, we have to be careful of amplifying the systemic bias that is built into our society. This is man-made inequality. So rubbish in, rubbish out. We all know that saying. However, with the development of AI, we are putting in an imperfect world into the technology and duplicating it for the good, the bad, and the ugly. So to use AI in a meaningful way, we need to be critical of its limitations and our limitations. So data is going to be smushed together in the most generic, average way. The exceptions to the rule, the outliers, will be filtered out to be able to provide a kind of middle-of-the-road answer. This is the opposite of a hallucination. This erases people from the work we do, and this is wrong. So they're the debates. I've had trouble moving on to the next slides, but I think you've kept with me. The dramatic end of the last section should hopefully make you realise this is something we need to care about going forward. So just to end, how can we do that? How can we be caring more and making an impact? Well, these 4 things are by no means everything you can do, but they're a good start. So quality data, what goes in. We need to know the limitations of our data that we've collected, highlight the demographics of the participants we have, and importantly, who we have not spoken to. We need transparency. Everyone in the team needs to know if you've used AI. Clients need to know if you've used AI, because we need to know what we're dealing with. This is a really important one that you can make a real difference in. It is AI, humans and AI collaboration, and this is all about skills. We need to get better at prompting. We need to understand technology more. This is definitely not a plug in and play situation. We need to be on top of the latest thinking. And finally, there are significant ethics and oversight issues. And we're lucky that we need to think of that from a research point of view, our data point of view, but there are regulations coming. The MRS is an amazing organisation, and it is investigating, reviewing all of these difficult things to help us navigate an ethical way forward. But current resources are on the MRS website. There will be more coming in the rest of the year, so keep your eyes peeled. And finally, last thing from me is to say that I will be chairing the EDI Summit, which is a conference where we will be continuing this exact conversation. We will be specifically talking about how you can recognise and manage representation bias when using AI tools and platforms. So please buy a ticket, come along, I'll be chairing, great clients will be there. It'd be nice to see you. And yeah, thank you so much for that whistle-stop tour. As I say, there's so much more that I could have said, but I tried to keep it brief. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm kind of doing my own thing, so if you'd like to work with me in the future, please do. And I'll see you soon. Take care.